Welcome to the pressure triggers video. And this is very important so we understand how to be a little bit more organized when we are pressuring. And that way we can also save our breath and, maybe press in a better way. So it's very important to start, is to understand the three types of pressure. So number one is press the player on the ball. Okay, that would happen, for example, in the midfield. Let's say the ball is on our right center mid, you know, and then their midfield steals the ball. So now applying number one type of pressure, pressuring the player on the ball. Number five will pressure here. Number seven will pressure here, and number 10 will pressure here. Okay, so we would pressure the player on the ball that just stole it, so that way we can, force him back, or maybe steal it, right? Or maybe have him force a pass where we can just easily intercept, right? But that's the number one. And pressure type number two, is closing the passing lanes. So that would happen, for example, let's say we lose our ball with our number 10. Now their 5 has it. Now I'm closing the passing lanes, right? One player is going to pressure the ball, and all the other players are going to get in front of their passing options. So then, he has nobody to pass, otherwise, like, force a ball back. But even though if he can force this ball, we should be smart enough to kind of intercept along the way. So, pressure number one, you three players pressure the same player on the ball. In this case, it would be kind of like this, you know. But pressure number two is closing the passing lanes. So only one player crashes the ball, pressures the ball, and the other ones stay in front of the passing options. That way, he cannot even see the passing option, and then we get a turnover. And the third type of pressure is individual pressing. So it's pretty similar to closing the passing lanes, like let's say here, right? But instead of staying in front of the player, you are going behind him, okay? So you're closing each player that is possible to pass, but you're closing them behind, besides the strikers, right? And then one player also pressures the ball. So again, right? So type 3 of pressuring is one player on the ball and then kind of like getting right behind of their pressuring options, because even if they play this ball, right, we are right at them, and then that's the style we're gonna use, right? So like I said, either we try to intercept that ball, by moving and reading that play, or we let him do his first touch, which usually will give a little bit of space, and that's when you tackle him and get the ball back. So those are the three types of pressure. Let's talk a little bit more of pressure triggers itself, right? So what exactly is a pressure trigger? Pressure trigger is a movement that the opposition does that triggers a pressure pattern, right? And it's good because it's more organized, right? The chances to catch the opponent distracted are higher, and also it saves energy, right? Because high pressing the whole game is exhausting and unachievable, right? So we use pressure triggers to kind of uh, make it a cleaner way to know when to press. So here I put all the 6 types of pressure triggers that our team is going to use during a game, right? And here is the types of pressure that we have. Um, so, regarding, for example, loss near sideline, right? So that will be a type of pressure trigger that we have. So considering the fact, right, that we are already in a build-up, in a good possession, our inverted wings went inside, right, that pushed our center mids kind of out wide. And let's say, right, that our number 7 here loses the ball. So that's a pressure trigger, right? A loss near the sideline. So what will happen? I want this guy to kind of drop here, right, in between both passing options. This guy, right, the nearest striker, is going to close the line of pass while pressuring the player, right? Why? Because you don't want him to force this ball to the keeper again, and you also don't want him to force this ball to the center back. The keeper option will be the worst one because then they would kick out, and then, we have to defend a little bit faster. This ball here is okay if they try to be on the floor, for example, right? And then you kind of just intercept it. But that's how we're gonna do. And then lastly, uh, kind of shift here, right? All those other players, and close all the passing options. Okay, so that one will be kind of type pressure one and type pressure two, right? So press the player with the ball a little bit more, and then close the passing option. For pressure type 2, right? Pressure trigger type 2 is a pass to the keeper. For example, the center back, plays back to the keeper. Then we all push up. I want this guy, to kind of pressure the keeper, but make sure that he's not making that pass out wide. Same thing with this guy, kind of pressuring out wide. Step up, step up, step up, and we always step up, okay? As they play that ball to the keeper. Why? Because then the only option he will have is to kick the ball wide, up top, and then we kind of fight for it in a 50-50, right? Make sure that you're winning that 50-50 though. Pressure trigger 3, right, will be a type 3 of pressure, and that's when the midfield receiving the ball has its back turned to our goal, right? So if he's receiving the ball, right, especially for example, their number 6 receives the ball, looking this way. If he's looking this way, right, rather than looking at our attack, then that's when we overload, the player. We do a type pressure 3, right? So one player, pressuring the ball, and the other players right closely behind the the passing options, right? If he does play this ball out wide, that will be another pressure trigger that we will use, but then we will adapt towards it. Just make sure that if the player receiving the ball has his back turned to our goal, that's when we overload the player. Okay? Kind of just get on him like this. Okay? So then he again forces a mistake, and something like that. So pressuring will be by strikers, okay, near the striker, the center attacking mid, and the other CMs closing the pass. Fourth type of pressure trigger is the loss in the mid, right? So if any of our three here midfielders lose a ball, maybe even our center defensive mid, it's very important that we apply pure pressure straight up, okay, and try to win it back. Those are the 6 seconds of pressure, right? That we've been talking about. 6 seconds of high intensity pressure, closing the pass, closing the player, and forcing a turnover so we can receive the ball back. Why is important this one? Because the midfield is where the creations happen, right? It's the connection between defense and forwards. So if nothing happens in the midfield, if we just intercept their passes, read their passes, apply that heavy pressure when we lose the ball in the mid, those balls are not going to get to the forwards. Okay? So then that's better for us, right? Again, lose the ball in the midfield, apply, intense pressure on the player, kind of closing the passing lanes, but closing also, the player on the ball. For pressure trigger number 5, right? That's long balls and first heavy touch. So, for example, if they play this long ball, right? that's a pressure trigger. Why? Because this ball is going to take a while to get here, right? So then we step up, okay? Like this. We step up. Close all the passing lanes, right? Make him come if he wants to come. It's okay. Just keep dropping. You know, he's not going to do anything from there. But long balls are pressure triggers. Why? Because, for example, you know, the ball gets here. Those take a while to get to the main target. So you have time to read it and see what's going to happen. So as they long ball, you know, make sure that you're closing the line of passes. Okay. So then you can let him take his space, right? It's okay. He's not gonna do anything from this area, but just kind of close the passing lane until he reaches a point that you know you can pressure the player itself, like this. Okay? So make sure that we're communicating in the mid, and when it's time to press the player, you know, we do a midfield overload here again, right? Where we close all the passing gaps and make sure that one player is going at the ball. Okay, and that's what I mean by for the outside backs to step up is to step up on the player that is open, right? We make sure that all the passing lanes here are open, are sorry, closed. And this is another question that we had, right? Towards our mid, one of our practices. If they're attacking from this side, this mid has to still stuck like sink in, you know. And if the outside back, you know, is high, then we can kind of go like this, you know, drop the center defensive mid and press the outside back on their midfield. But this is just in case, you know, we have our inverted wings, and this is a counterattack from our counterattack. And then lastly, right, it's playing wide players. So what are wide players, right? Outside backs and wings. Um, and you know the central mid, for example, if the ball is played to a outside back, the central mid closest to the ball closes the guy, right? I mean, I don't want you to go all the way here, but at least in a position that you let him come, you know, and you can meet him on the way. Hopefully not too high, but like mostly like around here, right? Kind of drop down a bit, let him come, you know, and then you take that space. So the center mid closest to the ball, you know, presses. Also, the center attacking mid presses, okay, and the closest striker presses, okay. So the center attacking mid kind of looking with this through ball here or this through ball here, and then the center defensive mid kind of just around here just to clean it up, right? In case he does get that ball through and our center attacking mid can intercept, we are already like getting this ball cleared up, right? So that's a ball, you know, to their outside back. So it's one of the wide players. But if the ball is played, you know, on the to the wing, then we do a pressure type 3 where one guy closes the ball and then we are just on the press on the you know on the passing options that he can get. So that way, you know, even if he does play, he plays into an overloaded area where we can easily just intercept the ball. Okay? Make sure that when the ball is on the wing, though, we are kind of compacting as we go, right? And we're kind of make it a little bit tighter. Maybe keeping our formation, our 4-4-2 diamond, or maybe, you know, kind of dropping into kind of a 5-4-1 like we talked about. And then last few things, you know, is during kickoff, don't press, right? Let them play the ball, okay? If they play a wide in a kickoff, just kind of drop back, let them come, okay? Just close the passing options, especially because this guy's probably gonna come to receive that ball here, you know, or he's going to kind of like try to come receive the ball here, all right? So make sure that on kickoff we are aware of this the zone, sorry, the zone here and the zone here, right? Either for this run inside or this run outside or this run inside to receive that ball. That's why we don't pressure kickoffs. So drop back, right? Maybe make that 5-4-1 here and let them come. It's okay. They're not going to do anything from there, right? But then once they reach a point that we can do a midfield overload, right? A pressure trigger here, then we step in, okay? So be attentive to those balls to the wings from the outside backs. Also, if the ball is being played between outside backs, right, or to the between center backs or play to the outside back, but there is no, progression. If they're just kind of building up from the back, it's okay. Don't press. Let them, do their thing, kind of sit back. As they progress the ball, that's when we trigger the pressure. Okay? And if they are playing the defensive line, right, or just playing here between midfields, choose a time that you think is the most appropriate, and the team has to convey with that and pressure at that point. For example, if they step in here, that's when we all pressure together. You know what I mean? So sometimes the pressure trigger has to wait a little bit depending on the circumstances. And then when you see the perfect opportunity to press, you press the team. Okay? Also, don't press if you're alone, just drop back. If you're alone, pressing is not gonna work. All right? Just drop back and compact. And also, if lastly, the pressing doesn't work by itself, just drop back, compact, and let the other team come so we can steal the ball. All right? Thank you so much.